Hello everyone, my name is Juan Ochoa and I'm the Coordinator of Faculty Initiatives at the Office of Community Engagement. Welcome to the third week of our 10-part coffee break series. Last week we went over the resources and opportunities available on the OCE website. If you missed that video, I recommend you go back and watch. I would also like to remind everyone that after every video, there will be a short survey. Complete at least 6 surveys and OCE will email you a certificate of professional development. This week we'll be talking about virtual community engagement. We will discuss what virtual community engagement is and offer some additional considerations when building a virtual project. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. The first thing we need to cover is what is virtual community engagement. This is an approach where students participate in community-based placements, complete coursework, and meet learning outcomes in an online setting. Collaborative virtual partnerships are created between the university, the students, and their service placement. Virtual community engagement includes service learning, community-based research, and volunteer service, and all are completed in an entirely virtual environment. Virtual community engagement projects have real benefits in the community, and our office fully supports projects that are entirely virtual. And we offer our service learning, community-based research, and establishing community partnership grant programs. When beginning to think about adding any type of virtual community engagement component, whether it's virtual or not, you should always consider 2 things. First, what do you want students to learn, apply, and demonstrate from the class? Will they be able to meet these learning outcomes through a virtual experience? Before we start thinking about how the class can contribute to the community, we need to clearly identify the learning goals for the class. This is very important because students will get the opportunity to draw connections between the learning and the service that the faculty member is asking them to do. Secondly, what are the related community needs? Take the time to talk to your community partners and clearly understand how your class can virtually contribute to addressing the community issue. If you have an idea in mind, but you're not exactly sure how to address it virtually, feel free to email us. Our office can share ideas to build your virtual project. The next thing to consider is what are you willing to try with your class? There are different ways to connect your course virtually to the community. With virtual community engagement, volunteer service, service learning, or community-based research projects are all possibilities. But be sure to think about what outcomes you and the students should receive from the project to narrow down your choice. If you're looking for some inspiration, our faculty webpage has lists of remote community engagement opportunities, and that's if you are interested in having your students participate in a one-time volunteer project. We also have links to virtual service learning and community-based research examples. The next part to consider is how much time you are willing to commit to the virtual community engagement project. Creating a semester-long community engagement opportunity will take a significant chunk of work, especially if you're also developing a new partnership. So, do you have enough time to prepare and set up the course? Also consider how much time do you want students to spend working with a community partner? Do you want students to participate for 2 hours a week or 2 hours a semester? If you're willing to commit only a couple hours throughout the course, a volunteer service opportunity may make the most sense. But if you want the class to be connected to the partner from the beginning to the end of the course, a service learning or a community-based research project might make the most sense. The amount of time you're willing to commit does not mean you need to follow a certain approach, but I hope this guides your project into something that you and the students will be comfortable with. Now that you've got some ideas on virtual community engagement projects, here are some tips to approach a community partner with a virtual project. First, explain how you and your class will fulfill the community identified need. Explain how a partnership like this is beneficial for student learning, the community, and the community partner. Discuss partnership priorities that you and the community partner would like to collaborate on. This list should be created by both partners and consider ranking the priorities from most to least important. Also, be sure to assess each other's technology capabilities. Our website has a logistics self-assessment survey that considers technology, availability, and commitment. The self-assessment survey itself is not a pass or fail. Instead, it is meant to be a starting point to discuss commonalities and differences in technologies. After that, schedule a virtual meeting with your partner and discuss the survey results. Now that you know a little bit about your partner's technology capabilities, you can begin to think how the service will be carried out. At this stage, identify the technology that you and the community partner will use. Consider something that you, the community partner, and the students are comfortable with or are able to quickly learn. Virtual community engagement will entirely rely on software. So let's review some common tasks in community engagement projects and connect it to software you can use to carry out your tasks. Let's start with communication. Communication is big in virtual community engagement. Software you can use for communication include Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Slack, and consider using apps like WhatsApp and GroupMe that are more friendly on mobile devices. There are also work progress management software like Asana and Trello that can help teams communicate the status of projects. Data collection is very important in many community engagement activities. You and your students can use Google Forms and Qualtrics to collect data, but don't be shy to embrace social media's data collection tools. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter have integrated polls that may increase the response rate of your survey. At some point, students and community partners will also need to work together and collaborate on projects. Students can use Google and Microsoft Office applications to work together on a single project, but some features on Microsoft Office require a license that a community partner may not have access to. In this case, use Google as your Office software. Also consider how students will share documents and data. CSUSB gives students unlimited storage through Google Drive, but there are also applications like Dropbox that help students share resources between them. Test out software to see what works best. For example, Google Drive takes quite a bit of time to upload and process videos. In this case, you might want to look for alternatives to avoid wasting time. If students are working on creating some kind of media, think about what would be the best way to share this. Will it be presented through a YouTube video, maybe a video on Facebook, or shared through a Portfolio account? If students are working to create a PDF documents, there is a resource called anyflip.com, which gives an e-magazine service. Lastly, how will students present their service and learning? Will it be through Zoom and Google Slides? There are also fun new technologies like VoiceThread that students can use for presentation. Allow flexibility and encourage students to present their information in creative ways. When choosing software, consider who has access to this. For example, if you set up the course for a particular task, ask yourself if the community partner will also need access to this. If not, you might want to choose a different software. If your community partner does not have access to the software or is not trained in using the software, this is the time to start to prepare for that. ITS can help you create training videos for your class and your community partners, and there are many funding opportunities, including OCE grant programs, to purchase software for you and the community partner to use. Okay, let's quickly talk about some best practices for your syllabus. Always be sure to name the community partner that the students will be working with, the commitment that is required from students, and the linkages between the experience and the course. Also include any readings, discussions, or reflections that fit with the activity, and think about how this will be evaluated. Also, an important thing to consider is not forgetting to keep a timeline. We don't want students waiting until the last minute to complete their service and end up overwhelming the community partner. Be sure to place goals throughout the semester to ensure that the class stays on track. You and the community partner also need to agree on how the service will be structured, and be sure to share this on your syllabus. If you want students to check in with someone and notify them that they are working on the service project, or can work be done independently? Also mention how you and the community partner will keep track of the student's service. You should also be prepared to offer an alternative assignment. There are many valid reasons why a student might not be able to participate in the service portion of the class, so be prepared for a situation like that. Another good idea is to ask students about their access to technologies. If a student has to drive to campus to use campus Wi-Fi, consider making accommodations to allow the students to work from home without an internet connection and upload their work once they are back on campus Wi-Fi. Also, don't forget to include any links to the trainings that you have created for your students and your community partners. You should always evaluate the progress of any community engagement project. Virtual community engagement is fairly new, and the projects are so different that there is no one perfect way to carry out a project. Be sure to evaluate your project and see where it can improve. Also, don't forget to celebrate the success of the students. At the end of the course, celebrate them for what they have accomplished. Always let students know about the impact of their work. It is easy to become disconnected in a virtual environment, so celebrate their work and give them constant updates. A final tip I want to give is I encourage faculty to visit our community engagement website. We dive deeper into virtual community engagements and have links to resources that you might want to review as you build your project. We offer a list of remote community engagement opportunities, lists of virtual service learning ideas and corresponding syllabi, and a 3-step resource guide to cultivate successful virtual partnerships. I hope this served as an introduction to virtual community engagement. To wrap up, virtual community engagement is real community engagement. There is potential to address a community-identified issue and improve the lives of others. Faculty involved in virtual community engagement create a creative and innovative learning experience, and students learn by dedicating real time and applying classroom learning into practice. If you have any questions about virtual community engagement, please email me at juan.ochoa@csusb.edu. I'd like to remind you to take a quick survey. The link is listed below. Thank you for joining us for this coffee break, and join us next week for an exciting topic, exploring community engagement in large classes. Thank you, and see you next week.